All right, buddy. So what's your name and where are you from?
Gunnar Lindblom from Detroit.
Gunner from Detroit. And this is like the fourth time we've done this, ladies and gentlemen. Gunner's out there in the sticks. He is off the grid for about what? You said 6 months. You're on a little journey.
Yep.
But I know a little bit more about you than most guests that come on. We've been talking behind the scenes and we've been trying to get this done for probably about a month or going on a month or two now. So go ahead, man. I'm just gonna let you run with it, man. Where to go? Where to all go wrong? I guess, huh?
Oh, man, I was born. It started when I was born. Kind of went
You
wrong.
were born wrong.
Right. So a lot of people are going to get confused, and I want to get this cleared up ahead of time. Is that so? You see my last name Lindblom, and you think that's not Italian. This guy's maybe he's a fake or he's this or that. If you don't know anything about the Detroit Mafia or about my family, so I'll clear it up. Is my mother's name was Grace Carmela Tocco. Her uncle was Jack Tocco, Black Jack Tocco, and he was the head of the mafia in Detroit for 40 years. So his first cousin was my grandfather. They were very close. We all lived in the same neighborhood. And then my mother's younger brother, Pete, I grew up under his wing. When I was about 12 years old, he started kind of bringing me into the criminal fold, if you will, having me doing little crime stuff, little petty stuff like, jangling the can for muscular dystrophy to collect money in front of the liquor store, and then taking the money and buying a mini bike. He told me to do that. He told me to have, when I had a bike I wanted, it was like $300. I asked him to buy it for me because he had money. He was kind of Italian guy, slick, had money. He was like 24 years old, had a Cadillac. I said, Uncle Pete, can you buy me this bike, man? I really want this bike, this freestyle. I was in the freestyle. So I'm going to buy you a freaking bike. Go get your cousin Frank. Get Frankie over here, who's in prison for murder right now. And Frankie comes
Damn,
over.
Frank.
Yeah, cousin Frankie. Frankie is a lunatic, and he loves to rob dope dealers and shoot them. So he basically he ends up. He said,
I love Frank already. I hate to stop you, man. I love Frank already.
"Oh well, we'll have to talk about that." One of my freaking main rackets before I went to prison, right towards the end, was me and Frankie robbing dope dealers. We had strippers in the strip clubs, so they would tip us off. The guys coming in with big pockets, man.
Oh man,
Popping bottles.
I've seen that job done a few times.
Oh yeah,
Frank.
we made a lot of money like that. So Frankie goes and steals the bike. I give him, my mom gave me $100 to buy the bike. My Uncle Pete says, give Frankie 50 and keep 50, get the bike you want. And now I'm 12 years old. So I'm thinking, oh, this is how it works. This is kind of the way of the world. So I'm getting allowed to do this and told to do this stuff. So I started looking up to these guys, I'm around them. And then I was a bad kid to begin with. I was constantly fighting and getting kicked out of school and in trouble and just a bad kid all around. And that's because my parents had dysfunction. They divorced when I was 4. My dad was a drunk who beat my mom, but my mom never told her family that he was doing that because he would ended up dead, flat out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He was the dude, John Rizzo from like Connie's husband in The Godfather. That's how they saw my dad. They didn't like him. Nobody liked him. So anyway, when I was in my teen years, I started getting into all these fights in the nightclubs, which I get to go into at 16, 17 years old because I was my Uncle Pete's nephew or my grandfather's grandson. So I just say, I'm Pete Took's grandson. And the bouncers were like, oh, they let me in. I had 10 of my boys with me. We're like 16 years old. Then we act like little punks and we get in a fight, end up tearing the club up, trashing the place, right? But then a few weeks later, I'd be driving my grandpa because my grandpa's eyes were going bad in my teens. And I kind of became a pseudo driver because he would drive terribly. He'd blow red lights and grab, like, Grandpa, bro, what are you doing? Let me drive. So now I was living with him. I said, let me drive you. So I get to meet these kind of high level mob bosses that normally nobody would ever get to meet at my age or my level of anything. It just so happened that like these old Sicilian mob bosses, some of them are big shot guys. I mean, one of my guys that I work for is Tony Giacalone. He's the guy Jimmy Hoffa was going to see the day that Jimmy Hoffa disappeared. He was, suspect number 1 in Hoffman. He's a dangerous guy, suspected of killing over 40 guys, this dangerous dude. So these guys were like Goombadis, which means best friends with my grandpa. And I would drive my grandpa.
What's the word called?
Goombadis. Yeah.
Goombadis.
Goombadi. It literally means best man in Italian, but they got like 10 of them.
I've heard of Goombas before. Isn't that a term that y'all say a lot as well? In that
that's my Goomba. That's my Goomba. They say it all the time. Totally.
I thought Goomba was like like kind of like bodyguard type thing.
No. That's goon. No, this is a Goomba. Bodyguard is protettore. How you say bodyguard, protector.
Okay.
But Goomba literally means your best man at your wedding, and you only can have one.
I like that.
Yeah, you can only have one. But here's the thing: every single one of them call each other Gumbadi. Like, hey, Gumbadi Paul, Gumbadi Pete, Gumbadi Tony. And I said, Grandpa, how can you only had, Paul Corrado was your best man at your wedding. How is Tony your Gumbadi? He's like, oh, he's we're all Gumbadis. So they're really
everybody gets a little love. Everybody gets a little love.
And a lot of people don't realize that Italian men, old Italian men, I swear they're worse than women, man. Old women, they love to talk. They will sit on the phone and talk for hours in Sicilian and and then they love to sit around and play poker, smoke cigars, penny poker, and just tell war stories and talk about the good old days.
Sounds like my YouTube channel, man.
Right. Like old Daggles would be perfect for your show. So I would pull up, and I'd go in the back of these like headquarters. There would be like used car lot or restaurant or a bakery, and there's always an office in the back, and they sitting around smoking cigars, play poker and whatever. And I'd come in, and Tony would say, "Hey, Alonzo," they call me Alonzo. My name's Alan Alonzo. What happened to Tony's place the other day? Freaking, I heard you tore the place up. And I'd be like, nah, I just, got into it with some guys. They tried to punk out Johnny, and I freaking got into it. I freaking knocked this guy out. Next thing you know, I'm smashing this guy, man. And I'm telling these stories, and I'm all animated, smashing. And now they're into it, and they're going, yeah, I remember the time me and Paul did this, or Paulie did that, and we did this, Tony did that.
Oh, you put the battery in their backs.
Yeah. So now they're all telling me stories. And they're freaking jumping up, and they're sweating. They're like, I'm smoking the cigars this one time. And they liked me because I reminded them of themselves 50 years ago or whatever, because I was a freaking wild child, loose cannon. I was always into some stuff. So around that, my late teens, I started saying, they'd see me, they say, Alonzo, I got something that I need you to do. You want to do something for me, make a couple bucks? I said, well, what is it? He's like, there's this guy, he's got a problem. He doesn't want to pay up his money. Just go scare him a little. You're a scary guy. Just let him know that, got to pay. So I started doing collections, and I'll make a few bucks, couple $100 here, a couple there. And then like Tony Giacalone, who's, like I said, very dangerous guy. He was the street boss of the Detroit family. So that's the number 4. Yeah, the boss, underboss, consigliere, and the street boss. Very scary dude. And he said,
I hate to stop you, man. I hate to stop you. Is there only one boss for that city? One main boss?
There's only one main boss. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I didn't know if there was like other main bosses for other families within that city of Detroit. You know what I mean?
Well, you're kind of right. So in Detroit, for example, you have maybe 6 or 7 families, and each one of them has a capo. And that capo is a boss of his family, his crew, and runs everything there. But that capo answers to the boss. Yeah. Which is one boss. There's one with Jack Topo. At that time, when I was out there, there was always Jack Topo my whole life. Yeah. And he was very secretive man, very private man. He didn't talk about business a lot. Not when I was around. He came over to our house all the time. He loved ricotta cookies. My grandma would make him the cookies. They'd sit there and drink coffee and hang out. And I always kind of was under the impression that he didn't like me a lot much because he wasn't real chatty with me. And plus he didn't like my dad. And all those old timers didn't like my dad, how my dad treated my mom. And I felt like they saw me as a reflection of my dad. So they were kind of like, but he was nice enough. And he put me to work. And I did some errands for him. I collected $1.7 million for him after the Super Bowl. That was pretty crazy. Me and Johnny LaFada.
Jeez.
Yeah, 1.7.
Cash?
Yeah, in cash. Yeah.
How heavy was that?
It was a trip, dude. That's a crazy story because we collected all this money over like 3 days from all these bookies, right? And then we had to count it and deliver it to them. We had a counting machine. The counting machine broke. The stash house. Damn. The stash house was just an apartment, empty apartment, and something was wrong with the heat, and it was like 90 degrees, and we couldn't get it to go down. 90 freaking degrees. And the guy I was with, bro, Johnny Potter, he was a killer, man. I seen him kill guys. So he was a homicidal maniac. And so I'm sitting there counting his money. We got a shotgun against the wall. We both got pistols on us. I don't really trust him. And I'm thinking, this fool's going to freaking double tap my ass as soon as I turn around.
And take the money.
He's that crazy. Like, he don't care about Jack Topo. He's that freaking crazy. Because Jack Topo's the boss. He'll chase you to the ends of the earth, man. You better hide. But he didn't care. I didn't think Johnny did. So we count the money by hand. And it took like 4 tries because I count, get a number, he counts, it's another number. I count, get a number. Yeah. So we counted until our thumbs and fingers were green, and it was a nightmare. We got it all down. It was like 1.72 million. And then I had to delivered to the race park. Hazel Park Racetrack was the headquarters for the boss. And I actually got caught on film walking in with that duffel bag. The FBI showed it to me. They're like, "What was in the bag?" I'm like, "Nothing. Sandwiches for the guys, whatever." But anyway, that freaking guy, Johnny, when I finally asked afterwards, I said, I told my Uncle Pete, who was my boss, my capital, I said, "Why would they put me with Johnny's crazy ass?" I said, "I'm freaking lunatic. They put me in there with him, man. I thought he was gonna kill me." And he was like, "They put you with Johnny because they figure he's the only one crazier than you. They thought you were gonna run with the money. That's what they thought. You would have taken. Johnny was watching you." I was like, "What?" So then anyway, back to what happened. In my teens is Tony Giacalone. His nephew got like kind of sucker punch playing basketball in the backyard a couple houses away. And he happened to be over his sister's house. And like when that happened, she called me and told me that they beat up Anthony. So I jump on my Ninja and I drive freaking halfway across town like a maniac. Get there. Who's picking on my cousin? I was mad. Man. I was seeing red. You know what I'm saying? I just came from the beach actually. So I had a tank top on and so storming up in this because I said, "Where they at?" And they're like the backyard across the street. Storming up in there. There's like 6, 7 dudes. I said, "One of you bitches, put your hands on my cousin." And I don't even know these guys. This is a nice upper class neighborhood where it's a nice area. I'm from like a lower middle class area. And I walked up in the backyard ready to kill them. I said, "What you bitches, put your hands on cousin?" And they were like, "Oh, what's up, Al, man? Anthony's your cousin?" I said, "Yeah, and you know who I am?" And they're like, "Yeah, you're Gino's boy. You go to Lake Show, right?" In my mind, I was like, "Oh, if they know who I am, then they know what I'm about. And they know they should be scared right now." So I said, "You put your hands on if you know me, you should know better put your hands on my cousin." They're like, no, we were just playing basketball, got in an arguing match, started shoving, one threw a punch, we broke them up. We're all friends. We grew up together, blah, 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 blah. So I warned him. I said, "Listen, if it happens again, I'll be back and I'll smash every one of you bitches. That's for real." So I said it. I stomped back out of the yard. I went back to the Tony's and Pat, my Aunt Pat, and I said, "It's handled. They won't bother you no more, Tony." And he didn't. And so Tony, this old mob boss dude, Tony Jack, he basically saw that and was like, "Man, this Garner Alonzo handles his business and quick. He handled that. Went back there, punked out 8 freaking kids.
And it was for his family.
Yeah, right? Exactly. Which is all of our family. You know what I
mean? Yeah. But that's like you said. It was his son, Tony's son.
No, that was his grandson.
Grandson. That's right. Yeah. So that means a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And so, and then he calls me a couple of weeks later, maybe a month. I can't remember how longer later, but it was not long after that. He calls me and says, "Listen, this freaking girl I'm dating, is Gumar. Gumar means girlfriend on the side." He's like,
Gumar, okay.
Gumar, yeah, his girlfriend. He's like, "My Gumar, her freaking ex came home drunk last night, came to her house and smacked her around and then passed out at the house. She's got a restraining order against the dude, so he ain't supposed to be there." Uh-huh. So he calls me at like 7 a.m. and he says, "Listen, this is what's going on. Go handle this. You handle this for me, Alonzo?" I said, "I got you, Tony. Freaking don't even worry about it." I called my workout partner in Dario and said, "Come on, man, let's go. Got business." He's like, "What? Should I grab my piece?" I said, "No, man, grab a pool stick or something. We're good." So we shoot over to the house because he gave me the address. I shoot over there. It's only a couple miles from my house. Walk in his house and like quietly tap on the door. She answers the door. I said, "Where's he at?" "In the back room, passed out in the bed." So I'll walk back in the bedroom, man. I was just like, "What?" I grabbed him by his hair. I grabbed him by his hair. Yank him up out of the bed. He's like, "Who the hell for you?" Trying to get tough, trying to fight a little bit. And I said, "Motherfucker." I said, "I'm the guy who comes when you beat up women, man." I crushed his whole face in. I had this big nugget ring, dude, and it took a chunk right out of his nose. Blam! And that kind of just dropped him. He went down. My boy cracked him with a pool stick. I may have kneed him in the face a couple of times, but he was done. The one shot in the nose just blew his face apart, and he was done. So I dragged him out of the house by his ankle. And to get into his house was like an upstairs flat, so it was like a staircase. So I'm dragging him. He's falling down, and all blood's all over the place. And I get outside. I tell him, he's like, "Who the F are you, man? Look what you did to my face." I said, "Man, listen, I'm the guy who comes when you freaking beat up on a woman." And I said, "So next time you put your hands on a woman," because he said, "Look what you do to my face." I said, "You're going to need a surgeon to put your face back together." Then he starts reaching under his seat, though, because the door's open. And I'm telling him, "You got a van."
He's going to grab a gun?
I'm like this. And he starts reaching under the seat. I'm like, whoa, what are you doing, bro? It's freaking, he reaches under, I yank out. He had a crowbar. I said, "Man, are you freaking crazy? I'll smash your freaking head in with this crowbar." And I freaking sent him on his way. But that's what set into motion some events. Because Tony saw me do that, handled that. The girl called him and was like, "Yo, whoever that was you said, he freaking handled that.
Yeah.
So now Tony's like, work security at these poker games or these casino nights or, at these nightclubs. And I started bouncing at all the high-end nightclubs. And that was a great racket because I'm skimming from cover and I'm doing all this stuff. And anyway, long story short,
endless opportunities in there, huh?
Yeah, oh yeah, dude, endless opportunities. I talked about some of them on my YouTube show. I talk about some of them and just the craziness. I'd have my cousins that pull up. There'd be like 15 of them in a limo, and they're all like 16 years old. And they'd all show up and they come up to this like high-end nightclub called Ronnie's on the Lake, where you actually valet park your boat. It's a ballers club right on Lake St. Clair, right out there. Grosse Pointe, which is the richest city in Michigan, is right there. So all these high rollers come and they park their boats in the club, and all these hot chicks come there to freaking sugar daddy, looking for sugar daddy. And I'm 19 years old bouncing in these clubs and they're macking on these hoes. And they're pulling up in their own boats and stuff. My cousins want to go to the club and be seen. They come up and I can't not let them in. I mean, I'm working the door to my cousin. So I get like 10 of them. They all come in wearing suits, looking little like playing a role, like little mob kids, right? And they'll kiss me because that's the Sicilian thing. Yeah. It's weird. I know it's just what Sicilians do. They actually kiss on the lips. So like they come in and they say, "Cousin Al," just a peck on the lips. I know it's weird. I know it's weird to most people. It's weird. It was weird when I realized how weird it was. But until I was like 25, I mean, I didn't realize it was weird, kissing my uncles and my grandpa and my cousins. But people would see these kids come in and kiss me, and they'd be like, "Who the frick is this bouncer, man?" It's like acting like he's the Godfather. I'm like, I was nobody, you know what I'm saying? But that they acted like I was because I had the power to let them in this dope ass club. So that was fun. And, one thing led to another, and there's always a lot of crazy rackets. And one of the things that kind of ended up leading me to prison and slowly deeper into trouble was, like, for example, Tony had me work security at these poker games, all right? Tony Giacalone. And it's a good racket, for him, but I'm security, I only make like $200 for the night. So it's like an 8-hour shift. I'm sitting in the basement watching these guys play cards, smoke cigars, mac on a couple strippers that are hanging out, do a few lines of coke, drink their booze. Somebody wins a pot of $10,000, and then the game gets cut every pot or every other pot, but usually every other pot. And so, the guy hosting the game maybe cuts $5,000-6,000 out of the pot after paying for the strippers, the booze, the cigars, the food, and the bouncer. He walks away with freaking $4,000.
Yeah.
So I watch this. I see this whole like racket unfolding, and I'm just thinking, man, I can do this. You know what I'm saying? Why can't I do this? So I start memorizing the faces and the names of these guys at the game. And now I'm working at this high-end club called Brownies. So I see him. I said, "Hey, Nino, man, how you doing?" I said, "You want to come to one of my games? I'll cut every third pot. So there'll be bigger payouts." You know what I'm saying? Instead of cutting every pot, I cut every third pot, man. So he's like, "Yeah, no, we'll win." He's like, "Yeah, listen, minimum buy-in is $2,000, and then the game got bigger to like $5,000 and, $10,000 buy-in. I don't think I ever did a $10,000 buy-in, but a few $5,000 buy-ins. But I securityed a couple of $10,000 buy-ins where the payout was like $60,000. So, but anyway.
But you're taking that guy's players.
Yeah, I got taking his players. So what happened was, all of a sudden, Tony and Nino would call these guys and be like, "Yo, how come you're not playing your regular Saturday game with me lately?" Like, "Oh, I'm not playing with your nephew, man. He's only cutting every third pot." So dude, I was freaking in trouble, man. Then I get called in. So the first time I get called in, and Tony says, "What are you doing, man? What are you freaking crazy, stupid? Come on, man."
Were you scared going in there for the call in?
Not the first time. I was because.
Did you know that they knew that?
He knew everything. I had to pay him.
I'm saying, did you know going in there that they were going to be talking to you about that?
I had a feeling. Yeah, my grandpa said Tony's over here and he wants to see you, wants to meet you, or wants to talk to you.
Okay.
And for my grandpa to call me on I went over there on the weekends all the time. I wasn't living there anymore. I used to go there for Sunday dinner with the family. But for him to say, "Hey, Tony's over here, wants to talk to you," kind of had an idea. And then I get there, Tony's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Man, I got to eat too. I can't eat these guys. Can I have a game too?" He's like, "No, these guys have been my players for freaking years. You can't have a game." So I said, "All right, whatever, Tony." He said, "How much did you cut out of that pot?" I'm like, $8. He's like, I don't remember if it was that pot or the second time. Second time, I didn't think he said anything about the money. The second time, same thing, meeting with my grandpa and him, and he didn't say nothing. He said, "How much did you cut out of that pot?" I said, "About $5. He goes, "You owe me $6. Get it." And I was like, what? He's like, you owe me 6. I looked at my grandpa, and my grandpa nods, like, pay him. So now I got to pay him 6,000. I only made 5, so I got dicked. Because they said there's rules. You can't do this stuff. You can't just grab a guy's players you've had for every year. There's rules. You're not following. The third time, my grandpa summoned me and just said, hey, he freaking sat me down and looked me dead in the eye and says, listen, Alonzo, stop.
So you literally got caught 3 times doing it, even after getting warned. Okay.
The third time, he just says, stop. I can't help control what happens after this. Stop. And I really never thought I was going to kill over it or nothing like that.